In this Q&A video supported by the Lasico Group, we're going to answer the question, what do I need to know about working in confined spaces? Now, just before we explain the answer to this question, please be aware that this video is one of a series that we've made on the subject of health and safety in construction. And they can be viewed individually, or you can click on the link in the descriptions below to view them as part of our free online training package to help you with your CPD and receive a certificate to prove that you have completed the course. That's right, those tight nooks and crannies that we have to squeeze into. Roof spaces, floor spaces, perhaps even squeezing ourselves into the understairs cupboard to do a consumer unit change. Do we ever stop to think though of those dangers in those tight areas? It's crucial to understand the risks involved and the precautions we must take to ensure our well-being and that of everyone else when working in confined spaces. But what is a confined space? Well, the Confined Spaces Regulations 1997 define them as any place including tanks, chambers, pits, pipes, sewers, flues, wells, or any other similar place in which by virtue of its enclosed nature arises a foreseeable specified risk. So, what are those specified risks? Well, they are serious injury to a person by fire or explosion, loss of consciousness due to an increase in body temperature, loss of consciousness due to gases, fumes, vapour, or lack of oxygen, drowning from increased levels of liquid, and asphyxiation due to solids and being trapped. So places like storm drains, underfloor crawlways, manholes, silos, even under the stairs in some circumstances. Electricians every day find themselves in confined spaces and perhaps don't even give it a moment's thought. I remember myself as an apprentice crawling through a 30-metre floor space, pulling in a steel-wide armoured on my back, crawling on my belly and not being able to turn myself around to get out. Perhaps you can think of similar experiences where you found yourself in these areas to carry out installs or maintenance work. Have you ever considered the risks? Now, we can categorise risks associated with confined spaces as followed. Low risk confined space are simple to enter and get out of, well ventilated either naturally or mechanically, with little or no risk of flooding or being trapped. A medium risk is generally a confined space that is accessed vertically, like down a manhole or bunker, and where there is an increased likelihood of encountering the specific risk like flooding. In these circumstances, additional staff members may need to be present and breathing apparatus as part of an emergency arrangement may also be required. A high risk is where a specific risk is already present at levels where serious injury or even death could occur. And just a little reminder, a risk is the likelihood of a hazard occurring and the severity of it when it does. Take crossing a road, for example. We know that getting hit by a car is quite severe. So when we decide to cross, we do so when the likelihood of that car hitting us is furthest away. That is a risk assessment and something we all do without even thinking about it. Confined spaces require the same type of assessment as the hazards can be really dangerous. So what kind of hazards could we encounter? Well, that all depends on the confined space. Most commonly, we encounter hazards that we hit our heads on. That's right. You're crawling through a tight space and you catch your head. Now, this could potentially be fatal if no one knows that you are there, or if you hit your head hard enough and fall unconscious. Equally, you could be wiring emergency lighting in an underground sewer or storm drain with limited space and access. The risk here of raised water levels, as well as an increase in gases like hydrogen sulfide or carbon monoxide, can potentially be fatal. In older buildings, you might find yourself crawling through a duct with old pipework with asbestos lagging still attached to it. Something also to watch out for. Fire and explosion is a very real risk. An example of this was in 2013 in Newark, where tragically 2 people lost their lives, and this was due to the property owner working in his cellar under his property. He was filling the coal chutes with expanding foam, and the fumes from the foam ignited when the light switch was switched on, killing him and his daughter-in-law. A further hazard that is overlooked is bacterial infection. Confined spaces tend to be dark spaces, tucked away, which make a safe haven for rodents and animals. And it's very easy to enter these locations and come into contact with mice or rat drop-ins from which you can catch bacterial infections like Weil's disease, which, if not treated quickly, can be fatal. How can we minimise the risks of confined spaces? Well, the best way to avoid it is to not enter it. So first of all, ask the question, do we need to go into that space? If we do need to go into complete works, then the risk assessment is critical to analyse all of the hazards and the severity before any work takes place. We also need a safe systems of work in place to ensure that the work carried out is as safe as it can possibly be. And finally, most importantly, sufficient training. This video is designed to raise awareness of confined space and the risk that they pose. However, if you work in confined spaces or will be, it is critical to obtain official confined space training with a suitable provider. This training will normally involve the simulation of being able to escape a confined space in the event of an emergency, and may also require the need to train on breathing apparatus for specific risk areas. So remember, assess the space and don't run the risk in a confined area. So there we go. That's some things to think about when working in confined spaces. To find out about issues surrounding mental health in construction, check out this video here or click in the link in the description below to watch it as part of our free training package to help you with your CPD and receive a certificate as well. Thanks for watching.